and put one into, I've done this, put one right into the stud and then use heavy gauge picture frame wire and wire it. Anything.
It doesn't really have to fight the whole weight of the object.
No,
it just has to fight the rocking, so only a portion of the weight. Yeah. I actually have a boat twine from some place up here in the Northwest that has 600-pound per square inch braking strength, and that's just great for this.
There you go. No.
But in any event, let's get back to the coastal event here. We still have the data building for that, and then recently the global coastal event, as described it in the past, and we've been discussing it for a number of years, seemed to have been centered in about mid-2009, and it was going to affect, as the label implies, the entire planet's coast. We really didn't know what, per se, was likely to be the issue here. There were a number of different possibilities, including the release of things like methane hydrates, rather than any kind of glacial shift. Either one would affect all the coast. For instance, there's enough glacial hydrates off the Pacific North, or the northern Pacific plate here, that if they all decided to bubble up, it would turn the Pacific Ocean into something like a giant fizzy, and we would end up with perhaps 5 or 10 foot increase in the ocean level, which would cause huge problems along the global coast or the Pacific coast. Our issue now is that it's still showing up. We still have a lot of data. It appears to be almost a 5-month process rather than an individual day, which it occurs. And there's now starting to show up in manifesting circumstances, that is to say science articles are coming out now about how if we go another 2 degrees, we're going to see a shift in the Greenland glacier. And in fact, they think it's already started. So we may be getting into a period of time which would say start in the end of May-ish, right? And would run for the next 5 months, where a lot of us are talking about the coast as we all sit around and watch some glacier somewhere go ever so slowly into the ocean and start the process of raising sea levels everywhere. It's not necessarily a giant tsunami sort of a thing. We actually do show that there's a potential for some tsunami action from one of the earthquakes in December, and that's why we've placed that. Another reason for placing it in the Pacific Northwest is we haven't had a tsunami-generating quake up here in about 400 years, so we're overdue. And we have a tendency to put this in with the linguistics, and it kind of fits. So,
well, wasn't there a small one that hit Crescent City?
That was some time back. I'm talking a decent tsunami, or more than moderate.
I see, okay. Yeah, there was a surge, a tidal surge at Crescent City, I don't remember when, 25, 30 years ago, something like that.
Yeah, that was an Alaska quake that had started that. Yeah.
That's right. That's right. Okay, now, here's a quick question. The Canary Islands volcano splitting off and sliding, diving, crashing into the Atlantic. Right. That would cause a very serious problem. You're not seeing anything in your data which I guess you... At
this point, that would isolate out to that. It's certainly not the global coastal event. It would certainly cause a giant problem for the Atlantic, but it wouldn't be enough to alter the ratio of water within the Atlantic to Pacific. There actually have been a number of oceanographic studies, and that was one of the things I was headed for as a degree when I was doing college studies, was oceanography, physical aspects thereof. But there have been a number of studies that suggest it might take 50 years for a increase in the Atlantic waters to finally percolate around, so to speak, to all the other oceans. And mostly it would go by way of the Indian Ocean, because it couldn't go around through the narrow passage at the end of Tierra del Fuego in between there and Antarctica.
50 years to equalize?
Correct. And there's a couple of caveats here, though. The studies were done with the assumption that there would be current blocking features of ice at the North Pole. If the Arctic is unfrozen, then the whole equation changes, because there's a direct flow from the Atlantic up over the Arctic and into the Pacific. And so, but still, they anticipated it would take 2 years for that to occur.
That's very interesting.
So to get a global coastal event, even for us, linguistically, it's looking more and more like what will probably occur is that we'll get some sort of a warning, some clue that there's going to be a giant glacier that's going to shift, and then for months, the whole planet is able to sort of concentrate all of our news and news sources and cable and all of this kind of stuff on it, and we build up the tension over that period of time, and then at some point in time, it actually occurs in that 5-month process, and then we all start living with it.
Did you get that trailer I sent you?
Yes. Yes.
It'll probably
scary stuff, eh?
It'll be a schlocky movie, no doubt, but the trailer was pretty neat.
Yeah. I always like schlocky movies, though. I like the grade B's best, I think.
Hey, I just got some Charlie Chan movies. 20th Century Fox remastered them digitally, and they're...
oh, incredible. Yeah.
There's some fun stuff.
These days, of course, I have this terrible symbology addiction. So anytime I see movies, I start thinking, okay.
Now, Cliff.
You know, what are they hiding in this, right? Because it has become so apparent, I've become so educated, and once you've become sensitized, you can't not see it anymore.
No, there's nowhere to hide. You do see, you're like a raw receiver.
Yeah, that actually goes back to the economic issue and something that people need to be aware of, and that is that hyperinflation is baked into the cake now. The government has created money and they've, quote, sanitized it, which is some new use of the word to mean that the money won't come in and cause hyperinflation. But I don't see how that is possible in any way, shape, or form. There's no way to suck the money out of the system, so to speak. Therefore, the hyperinflation that's going to hit us in 2009 will cause a lot of the building tension language here. And that's where your stomach's going to knot up and you're going to probably and you'll probably be nauseated simply thinking about the impact of all of this on your finances. It's going to get to the point where...
Well, people are saying, what finances, Cliff? What are you talking about?
Well, that's just it, basically. And what I'm saying at this stage is that our data sets actually have some hints that 2009 brings out the first... it's sort of good news, in a sense, starts bringing out success stories about people that are going into what we call Boggs life.
What?
Boggs life, B-O-G-S, life. And it's just beyond ordinary or beyond old government systems, let's say, so that we don't pollute the airwaves any more than we have to. So it's just a contraction of the letters there, and it just made for a nice little label. But basically the idea is that people that have been disenfranchised to the maximum degree are going to start looking for alternatives and start finding these alternatives and start becoming successful as we continue to see the degradation of everything economically continue. The quadrillion dollars worth of, or mythical digidollars worth of derivatives out there will go away. We're going to have to live through this. 2009 is going to be a year of transformation that undoes the social contract in the United States, because the idea of an American middle class and the American dream are going to go away. So all of us that live in the continental U.S. are going to have to decide anew for ourselves and for our progeny here, what is going to be our binding social myth? Because without a binding social myth of some form, you don't have a nation state. You have to impose. No. So, for instance, there was no binding social myth on Czechoslovakia, and when they got the opportunity, they broke up into their two separate areas. Same thing with the Serbian states and so on. There's a natural move to self-segregate.
Yugoslavia and what we call it, yeah.
So you get to the point where we're all going to have to decide what makes us a nation, and is that in our interest to continue it? And if we do continue it, how are we going to do so? Because we're already starting to see linguistically strange things crop up that are creating a clear duality between ourselves, the ordinary citizens of the U.S., and the elites. And so as this all goes down the tubes, we're going to have to make those decisions and transform ourselves in the process of 2009.
So in a couple of words, if you hated 2008, you're going to blank 2009.
Yeah, you might as well just go to bed and stay there. Or, as I prefer to think about it, though, get a weird sense of humor, get fierce, and make it your own. And we have a saying, welcome to my mat. Come and demonstrate your art.
Lots of pies.
There you go.
Thank you, Cliff, very much. Good to talk to you. Take care. We'll talk soon.
Okay. Thank you much.
Good night. Cliff High and his partner George Ure, halfpasthuman.com, reading the Internet, the collective unconscious. Fascinating. Back in 21 hours. See you then.